She was the voice of a generation, flawless, divine, untouchable. But behind the applause, Whitney Houston was drowning in silence. This is not just the story of her rise, but the heartbreaking truth of how love, fame, and tragedy consumed the voice the world adored, yet never truly saved. She was born into music, almost as if destiny had already scripted her fate. In Newark, New Jersey, 1963, little Whitney Elizabeth Houston grew up in the pews of church choirs. Her mother, Cissy Houston, was a gospel powerhouse. Aretha Franklin and Dionne Warwick were more than legends to her, they were family. As a child, Whitney's voice rang like sunlight through stained glass. It wasn't the sound of a girl, it was the sound of something divine, something the world had been waiting to hear. By her teenage years, she was already gracing nightclubs, a shy girl with a voice too big for the room. Record labels came chasing, and when Arista's Clive Davis discovered her, the world gained its next superstar. Her first album, Whitney Houston, 1985, was no debut, it was a coronation. Platinum plaques, Billboard #1s, and Grammys stacked at her feet. The greatest love of all wasn't just a song, it was her anthem. Fans across the globe fell in love, believing Whitney was untouchable. Her career soared higher with every release. She was the first woman to debut an album at #1 with Whitney, 1987, giving the world I Want to Dance with Somebody. And then came The Bodyguard, 1992. The movie gave us a soundtrack that shook the earth, I Will Always Love You, a ballad so eternal that it redefined love songs forever. At her peak, Whitney wasn't just a singer, she was the standard. The world worshipped her. She was America's sweetheart, and yet, behind the glitter, her heart was breaking silently. Then came Bobby Brown. He wasn't just another man, he was a storm. Bobby had once been the bad boy of New Edition, the group that gave hits like Candy Girl and Mr. Telephone Man. By the late 80s, he was flying solo, dangerous, unpredictable, and magnetic. When Whitney met him, it was fire and gasoline. To the public, it was a fairy tale, America's princess with Rambee's bad boy. But some whispered it was a mismatch. Some argued Bobby was no true lover, only a gold digger feeding off Whitney's empire. But Whitney loved him anyway, fiercely and vulnerably. Their marriage was as passionate as it was destructive. The entanglement of her career and family blurred into chaos. The voice that once soared effortlessly began to crack under the weight of drugs, tabloids, and fights that became headlines. Album sales, once unstoppable, began to slow. Yet even when her voice weakened, the love of her fans never did. Across continents, stadiums, and television screens, people still adored her, still believed in her magic. But what they couldn't hear was her silent cry for help. The fame, the lights, the applause, all of it muffled the sound of her suffering. Whitney battled addiction privately, then publicly. The diva image, the diamond gowns, the platinum hits, they were her armor. But underneath she was fragile, tired, and breaking. No one, not the fans, not the industry, not even Bobby, could rescue her from the spiral. On February 11, 2012, the music world went quiet. Whitney Houston, at only 48 years old, was found lifeless in a Beverly Hills hotel bathtub. The coroner's report would list drowning, heart disease, and cocaine use. But her true cause of death was something deeper. The loneliness of a woman whose voice reached millions, yet whose cries for love and healing went unheard. Even in her tragic end, her legacy glows. Whitney Houston remains the voice. The songs she left behind still echo like prayers of joy, of heartbreak, of dreams. Her story is not just one of glory and downfall, but of a woman who gave her everything to the world and never quite received the same in return. Whitney sang, I will always love you. And though the world failed to hear her tears, it still answers back, we will always love you, Whitney. Whitney Houston gave the world her voice, and in return, the world gave her its applause. But applause cannot heal wounds, and fame cannot silence pain. In the end, she left us too soon, a star whose light still shines, though her cry went unheard. And so we remember her, not for the tragedy, but for the gift she gave us, a voice that will echo for eternity. If you believe legends like Whitney deserve to be remembered, join us by subscribing, so her voice and others like hers will never fade away.